Okay, okay, okay. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, Muslim or non-Muslim alike. Welcome to today's broadcast, which is going out over many different services, such as StreamYard, such as Podbean, MixLR, and so on. So it's a mixture of podcast, a radio broadcast, and video broadcast as well. Today our topic is there is no punishment of apostasy in Islam, and this is part one because it is a long topic, and I want to consider it fully because it's misunderstood both by Muslim and non-Muslim alike. And what I want to start with is, what is the definition of apostasy? Because unless we know what apostasy is, we cannot say what its punishment is. And that's a normal thing. For example, in English law, if you do criminal law, when you come to define stealing, for example, the first thing law does is to define what it means. That you intend to permanently deprive someone of something that they have. And it's the same sort of thing. So I want to look at how apostasy is defined. And I don't want to spend a long time on it, because if you have long lectures, then people sort of lose interest, etc. What I want to do is to look at it in sufficient detail for people to understand and appreciate what it is. So let's look at the definition, which is generally given, of what apostasy is. And it's divided into 4 parts. And matters which constitute apostasy, it is said, can be, number 1, apostasy in beliefs, such as associating others with Allah, denying Him, denying an attribute which is proven to be one of His attributes, or by affirming that Allah has a son. Whoever believes that whoever believes that is an apostate and a disbeliever. Now, you see, if you look at this, it says apostasy in beliefs, such as denying Allah. So that would mean that all atheists and all agnostics are apostates, and according to non-Ahmadi Muslims, they should all be put to death. There are in Europe, I mean, it may be okay in those countries where Muslims are in a majority, but there are in the Western world, in Australia and New Zealand and Europe and Northern America and so on, Canada and United States, millions upon millions, tens of millions of people who are either agnostics, and that is that they are doubtful about whether there is a divine being or not, or they're atheists in that they simply deny that. So people who say that apostrophe in Islam has a punishment. Are they going to punishment all these tens of millions of people? But they will come up with some excuse like, well, it's only a Muslim apostate who's to be killed, but it's okay for a Christian to become an apostate, or a Jew to become an apostate. Why? Why these double standards? Um, you know, so even the first definition, if you look at it with common sense, is leading to uh, uh, contradictions. Or by affirming that Allah has a son. Jesus says in the New Testament, my father and your father. He says God is the father of the whole of humanity. So what about that? Are Christians then apostates? And in fact, it says that Jesus affirming that Allah has a son. So does that mean that all Christians should be put to
Hello. Is there any
hello?
issue with the audio?
No, why?
I
I don't know.
I think
Can't
we
you hear?
we got a cut. Actually, someone else was trying to join. Maybe I'm admitting him to the meeting. Just a minute.
Yes, yes, we did get cut off briefly.
Yeah, please. Could you like? I'm
Yeah,
sorry for the.
yeah.
Let's continue again. Sorry.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, welcome, brother Gaddafi. He's in Florida, um, in Orlando, in United States.
Hey, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother. So we just started. So that is the first part, that traditional people say that, apostasy. Uh, yeah, that's the first part of the definition. Apostasy in beliefs, that we associate someone with Allah. And I said that, are they then going to put all Christians to the sword because they say Jesus is part of the Godhead? And then there is apostasy in words, such as insulting Allah or the messenger of uh, Allah. Well, if you are an agnostic, or if you are an atheist, then you deny the existence of God. You deny the existence of Allah. So are you then insulting him? Or, for example, there are Jews and Christians, and they are Jews and Christians, or Hindus and any other religion other than Islam, that they follow that religion because, God forbid me for saying this, that they say that they don't accept the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's claim. So should we put all Hindus, all Buddhists, all Sikhs, well, Sikhs accept the Holy Prophet's claim, um, but all other religions, such religions, should we put their followers to death? And the more you think about this, the more this doctrine, I feel, is insulting, not just to Islam, but also it's insulting to Allah, and it is insulting to human intelligence. What's the purpose of the story of creation? God tells Adam to do research and find out what things are and so on. So he's better than angels, which are beings that just follow an order that they're given. That is the essence of creation of Adam, to think and come to a conclusion. And the interesting thing I find is this: why doesn't a bolt of lightning come and strike and kill these people from Allah? He's Almighty, He can do anything. So why doesn't He just punish these people? Why does He have to leave it to some Muslim state, some Muslim leader to go and kill such people? And then there is apostasy. This is the third one, which is apostasy in actions, such as throwing the Quran into a filthy place, because doing that shows disrespect towards the words of Allah. So it is a sign that one does not believe. Other such actions include prostrating to an idol, or to the sun, or to the moon. Well, if we take that, then we can divide it into two parts. Um, Muslims, I have a partner in my legal practice who is a Hindu. He's based in New Delhi. And every morning when he goes to office, for 5 minutes, he opens a cupboard in the corner of his office and he worships Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of wealth. Now, one day he said to me, I went in after he'd finished his worship, and I went in and he said to me, Shahid, Muslims accuse us of worshipping idols. But what do Muslims do? Don't they go to graves of great saints of past and prostrate and pray to them? Ya Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, give me this. I have myself seen in Lahore, because when I go to Lahore, I try and go to the grave of I forget his name, but he's called Data Ganbaksh. He was a great holy man who was ordered to go to the Punjab and propagate Islam, and he did. And he died in Lahore, and he is buried there. And I go there to say Fatiha for him, to pray to Allah to forgive any shortcomings that he had and to raise his status for the sacrifices he made for the cause of Islam. But that is what I do. And then I leave. And we are supposed to do this for all Muslims who passed away. Pray to Allah for them to forgive their sins and accept their good deeds and so on. But I have actually seen people pray towards his grave, bow and prostrate to the grave, and they're mumbling. And if you listen carefully, they're saying, "Oh, Dada Ganjbakhsh, I have this problem. Solve my problem, or give me this, or give me that, or find a good husband for my daughter," or whatever it is. And really, the first time I saw this, I was shocked. Isn't this idol worship? Doesn't this come under actions include prostrating to an idol or to the sun or the moon? And Mohit, my partner, said that I pray to, it's like a human form, an idol. But whether it is a grave that you're bowing and prostrating to, or you've taken the same clay and fashioned it like an idol rather than a grave, in principle, it's the same thing. So how are we different? And I couldn't disagree with him. I wasn't going to argue with him uh, when what he was saying was correct. And then there is showing disrespect towards the words of Allah. You don't show respect for words of Allah by doing this. Yes, you are showing off that you show words of Allah. You take the Holy Quran in your hands, you kiss it and you touch it, and you put it in a high place. You can see, well, you can't see because the camera is not pointing that way, that the Holy Quran, copies of the Holy Quran are in that upper shelf. And I think I'm respecting the Holy Quran. But what does the Holy Quran, what about the verse of the Holy Quran which says, give true evidence, even if it's against your near and dear ones? Give true evidence. What about that? When you don't do it, when you lie for the sake of your son or your uncle or your brother or whatever, aren't you disrespecting the words of the Holy Quran? Isn't that apostasy? Why shouldn't all people, all those people who bear false witness after, remember, in Muslim majority countries, it's after swearing an oath on the Holy Quran. It's after swearing an oath on the Holy Quran that you then go and lie. And you violate this verse of the Holy Quran. Shouldn't you be put to death? And I can mention 1,000 other things which are mentioned in the Holy Quran. People here, I've taken these definitions from a non-Ahmadi website, and they're saying, next one is apostasy by omission, such as not doing any of the rituals of Islam or turning away from following it altogether. You know, and I know that Muslims who pray meticulously 5 times a day, you cannot trust them. They go to the mosque and they go and open their shop, and when they're measuring fruit or vegetable or spices or salt or whatever, they have their hand like this so that the spices seem to weigh more than they are. And the Holy Quran, what does the Holy Quran say? When you measure, give full measure. They are deliberately, knowing what the Holy Quran says, they are deliberately violating the Holy Quran. Why shouldn't they be put to death, put to the sword? And that is, if you take this definition, there is hardly anyone in the world that will be left who should not be put to the sword. Our brother Gavin from Ireland has joined us, and he's heartbroken. He's heartbroken. He has suffered so much for the sake of Islam, only to find that the people he thought he was helping and serving, they were deceiving him. They were being dishonest with him. And he's heartbroken, and he doesn't know which way to turn. Shouldn't all these people be put to death? So why is it that when we pick a definition of anything, we pick a definition that is sort of convenient for us, that suits us? And this is what makes Islam a joke in the world. There is I can't remember the whole of the poem, but a famous poet in India, before it was divided into India and Pakistan, he said that if a sincere Brahmin worshipping idols dies, bury him in the Kaaba. Why? Because of the sincerity of his faith. He was true to what he believed in. And this is the whole point. If you are, someone was asking a question today Why is it that Muslims are so humiliated in the whole world and so on? And Quran promises Muslims that they will always have the upper hand and so on. Quran doesn't promise Muslims that they will have the upper hand in everything. Quran promises momins, sincere Muslims, true Muslims, who are not following Islam because they want to gain some benefit or something out of that. We have two brothers here. I'm not saying others are not sincere. We have two brothers here who are totally sincere in embracing Islam because there is no financial, there's no worldly benefit that they have gained from that. And and they have even suffered, gravely suffered, for holding onto their beliefs. So that's the first thing I want to say, and that is that if you take the definition of apostasy as given here, they say, you see, apostasy in beliefs. Who is to decide which is the correct belief and which is not the correct belief? At the end of the day, it's only God who can decide. I believe that Jesus died on this earth, not on the cross. He was taken down alive from the cross, and later on, he recovered and left Palestine and completed his mission, and he passed away as a prophet of Allah. Others say he is up in heavens. So who is to say who is right? Should I be killed because I believe Jesus has passed away? Some people say Jesus didn't have a father. Others say Jesus had a father. So who's to, you see, the point I'm making is that from a secular point of view, from any point of view, really, it is extremely dangerous to give authority to human beings to decide things. We've seen what happens when you give authority to people to decide. Um, I don't know how many people know of Senator McCarthy from America. He decided to go hunting for communists, and everywhere he turned, there were communists. The team in the United States that carried out the Manhattan Project, which invented the atom bomb, half the scientists on that team were declared to be communists. And people like Oppenheimer and so on, they lost their jobs, they lost their, first they lost their security clearance, and because of their research, they couldn't get a job because they didn't have a security clearance, and so on. And a lot of them died of starvation, etc., etc. I'm mentioning that as an example to show you what happens to human beings who disagree with people once you give people the right to decide on those things. It's a very dangerous and a very, very slippery slope. I use Senator McCarthy as an example. Now, even in America, he's cursed and so on and so forth. And eventually, President Johnson called Oppenheimer to the White House and apologized and so on. But the man was dying then. What's the point of starving him for 20 years and then, oh, well, we're very sorry, you were really a great man. You invented the atom bomb and you helped us win the Second World War, and we starved you and your family to that. Sorry about that. But my point is, this is what will happen if you give human beings the right to decide on on those things. What does the Holy Quran say to the Holy Prophet Muhammad? Your job is to deliver the message. And you've done that. Now it's between me and them. I haven't appointed you a guardian over them. Allah tells the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I have not appointed you a guardian over them. So, if the Holy Prophet is not a guardian over people, then no other human being has the right to
That's
uh, to judge people.
that's right.
Short, short chapter of the Holy Quran. Just read that. Surah Al Kafirun. Or you who disagree with me. I can't convince you that I'm right. You can't convince me to carry on the way that you are carrying on. We can't convince each other. Lakum dinukum waliyadi. You live the way you want to, or for you is your religion, and I live the way I want to, or for me is my religion. Such great teaching, and we are being told that in Islam, punishment of apostasy is death. I'll end with this incident. I was in South Africa. There was a case related between two imams. One imam regarded Ahmadis as Muslims, and the other one had him expelled from his job, dismissed from his job, thrown out of his home, and so on for believing that Ahmadis were Muslims. So the second one sued the first one, and so on. And we got involved because the judge wanted to know what Ahmadis believed, etc., etc. And there was this long discussion about apostasy and punishment of apostasy in the court. And in her judgment, the judge wrote, she said, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was such a highly intelligent person. I cannot believe that he would have said that if someone changes their religion, you should kill them, because all he would have achieved was a fifth column in Islam, where people who wanted to leave Islam would have pretended to be Muslims and probably done greater harm to Islam than if they'd simply been allowed to leave. Why do we catch spies and punish them? Because whatever country they're in, they actually represents the interests of another country, but they pretend to be members of your society or your country. And you say that's not acceptable. We are going to find them and we're going to punish. The same thing would have happened to Islam. So today I wanted to consider simply the definition of apostasy that our non-Ahmadi Muslim brothers and sisters used, and discuss it, and show people how illogical and nonsensical that discussion is, how against even the purpose of creation that definition is. Next week, inshallah, we'll turn to the Holy Quran and see what it says about apostasy. And then the following week, we'll look at the Hadith and Sunnah and see and try and see what they say about apostasy. And you will find that in Islam, there is no punishment of apostasy. Remember the verse I recited, for you, your religion, and for me, my religion. That's what you say to an apostate. You want to leave Islam? For you, your religion, and for me, my religion. I want to remain a Muslim. So, Ahad, do you want to add something?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Very nice definition and explanation given by Shahid uncle, and I think today's discussion was mainly about understanding what apostasy is, and from that perspective, I think the agenda for today's meeting is fulfilled. But I would just like to add a small verse of the Holy Quran, which I think summarizes our topic of the discussion and the main perspective which every Muslim should utilize. That is the verse of Surah Al Baqarah, verse number 256, that there is no compulsion in religion. The right course has become clear from the wrong. So
Yeah.
technically it's as clear as that, that even if a person, uh, as Shahid uncle well explained earlier as well, that it was told to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you have not been appointed as a, you're just being appointed as a warner. You're not accountable for them, and you're not some sort of a, you can say, uh, some sort of an officer over them, like a controller over them. It's nothing like that. Your job is just to warn them. If they follow, it's their own will. If they don't follow, it's their own, like, you can say, it's their loss. So yeah, I think that summarizes our today's discussion. That was, I think that's it from my end. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else want to add anything?
Yes, I just currently assalamu alaikum everybody.
Wa
Um
alaikum assalam.
yes sir. I just read that I've been studying my Quran been studying my Quran diligently. I just read that where it says the prophet is only a prophet and they will question the and they'll also question the messenger. And it also says that that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that he's not reliable, he's not in charge, or not reliable for what the people do. So I just read that myself. So the fact that you just brought up something I just read myself, I took notes on that myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
what you
Yeah.
was just saying.
Yeah. 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 Your internet connection appears to be weak because the audio is not clear, but we get the point you're making. Anyone else? Suhail, you want to add anything? No.
My problem is my English is not too high
Well,
for.
as the verse just recited, there is no compulsion in religions. So, Brother Gavin, do you want to add anything? Or if not, uh, we've had nearly 40 minutes and we can call it a day. And inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, walaikum salam. Well, if we're talking about the punishment for apostasy, Imam Saab,
Yeah.
I wrote a letter of apostasy to the Qadiani Jamaat on the 22nd of May 2012.
All right.
Yes. So and then I felt that Almighty Allah punished me for doing that.
Uh, no. You feel your difficulties are that because you wrote that letter?
Yes,
Um, right. Okay. Let's
because
go.
the Qadianis claim that they're the one true Islamic group, and all others are kafir besides them.
Yes. 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 I know. I know. I know. Um, the first thing is that God would not punish human beings for following any particular way of life.
Mm.
And again, let's look at the Americans, and let's look at Israelis, and let's look at Canadians. And I could say, my God, they drink and they take drugs and they go to strip clubs and so on, and they're so rich and they have air conditioned cars and air conditioned homes. Are they being rewarded for being bad people?
It did occur to me that was the case. I mean, what's going on here? It doesn't make much sense that
It
the
doesn't
more
make
pious you are, the
yeah,
poorer your outcome, and the
yeah.
worse you are, the more elevated you are in the dunya. I find it very strange, and
But
Allah is all powerful.
yeah, Allah says, I will try you with something of loss of property and possessions and so on.
Yes.
And I'm always amazed at your sincerity and your faith and how you have stood firm on what you believed, and so on. And inshallah, I think that perhaps a turning point has come when things will begin to improve, and you will see the fruits of being steadfast in the things that you believe in. And all of us here, if we can provide you with moral support or whatever, we're always with you. And that is one problem you have. And let me introduce Gavin to you. He is the only Muslim, Lahore Ahmadiyya Muslim, in the whole of Ireland. And he goes to a mosque for Jummah, and he gets beaten up and he gets thrown out of the mosque because he tries to portray the true teachings of Islam. Can you imagine his faith? I mean, all of us, my neighbors will get upset with me, and my uncle will get upset with me, and so on and so forth. And, my colleagues in my office will stop chatting to me, and all these things. And yet he, a single person alone in the whole country, and he has remained faithful to his beliefs, and he has suffered much. I can tell you he has suffered much. People have deceived him. People have been dishonest with him. People have tricked him, and all manner of things. We won't go into details of all these things.
Yeah.
Well, to give credit to Islam for a second, Imam Saab. I mean, when I was homeless, I was staying in homeless shelters, and Islam really protected me during that time because I stayed away from all of the evil things that were going on in the homeless shelter.
Yep.
And I could see that some of the men who basically weren't Muslims or even practicing any religion were in a very much worse predicament than I was, in a sort of downward spiral.
Yep. Yeah.
So Islam should be credited for having protected me and protected humanity from many bad effects that could have been worse.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yes. Yes. So I must remember this as a joke, Gavin. I told Qadiani Khalifa, I'm not a Qadiani anymore. I'm Lahore Ahmadiyya. Am I being punished for that? That must be a classic. That has to be. We never got round to it. I was going to come to Ireland and so on, but then we had COVID, and travel got blocked and everything. So we never got round to it. But inshallah, now that we are slowly getting back to normality, I will one day try and come and see you, even if it's for a weekend.
Yes, well, it's just that I feel a loss of community, Imam Saab, and I was at the Roman Catholic Mass today, and the priest was stating that Roman Catholic theology on Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, and I couldn't agree with it. Because, like, on the one hand, the Catholics are lovely people, in my experience anyway, at least at that church. And, the spirituality of the place is nice, but the theology is not.
Yep.
It's not sustainable in light of Lahore Ahmadiyya teachings.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And the sad thing is, Gavin, that Islam, certainly our interpretation of Islam, actually has wonderful theology. But what Muslims lack is this love for their human brother. And that's the sad thing. I will tell you. It's a real story, but it's a joke. An English person who was a Muslim, he rang me and he said, "Oh, I want to come to one of your meetings." So I said, "Well, come." And then he didn't come, and then he rang again and said, "Oh, I want to come to one of your meetings." And I said, "Come." And he didn't come. So eventually I said to him, "Tell me what the problem is." And he said, well, I went to Iran as a tourist, and that's where I embraced Islam, and I'm a Shia. And I said, so I asked you for the problem. What's the problem? And he said, oh, you have no problem with Shias? I said, I don't have any problem with any human being. So, but tell me, what's your problem with being a Shia? And he said, well, he read in his local newspaper that they were starting a mosque in his town, and he was so happy because he used to pray at home and so on. And the day the mosque was open, he went for the first Jummah. He went running to say Jummah prayers, and he said everyone left their prayer, and they started looking at this white man. What's he doing at the mosque? Takes me back to your question about white people being welcomed in Islam. By the way, my brother-in-law is a white person. He's an English Muslim.
Yeah.
But anyway, he said that they noticed he was praying like Shias, and they forgot about their prayers and they started beating him up. So he said, I think I'll spend all this time and money going to Lahore Ahmadiyya Mosque only to get beaten up. I might as well stay at home. So I said, no, no, come. And eventually he came. And after the prayers and the meeting and so on, he said, I'm amazed. And I said, by what? He said, no one was even paying any attention to how I was praying. They were all busy, so busy in their own prayer that they weren't bothered about how I was praying. So I said to him, if you go for an interview, okay, to the chairman or president of a company, and rather than talking to the man, you are looking at other people and talking to other people and so on and so forth and seeing how they're doing and what they're doing. Do you think your interview with the president of that company will bear any fruit? And he said no. And I said, that is the problem. Rather than thinking we're being presented to Allah and we are accounting for our deeds and we are asking for forgiveness, we are bothered about other people. Has he got his hands up here? Is he saying Abin aloud? Is he saying Abin quietly? Where is he folding his hands? Is it up here? Is it down here? How tall? How long is his trousers and so on? And I said, God is not bothered by these things. God wants sincerity in your heart. And if you don't have that, then whether you pray or you don't pray is neither here nor there. And that sincerity is meant to create empathy in your heart for other human beings. And unfortunately, this is what Muslims lack. And you find in abundance in Christians. Because I'm not going to defend something that is wrong in the Muslims, and I'm not going to attack something that is right just because Christians are practicing it. That would be stupid. So, well, it was a nice start. So we'll carry on, inshallah, next Sunday at 5 p.m., looking at the Holy Quran and verses of the Holy Quran. Some have been mentioned by Ahad and myself, but we'll mention a lot more. Um, and I'll end by relating another incident. I was in Berlin, and we were on this guided tour, and I met a couple from New Zealand. And I mentioned Surah Al-Kafirun to them, and they were astounded. And they said, why don't Muslims ever present these beautiful teachings of Islam? Why are they always talking about jihad and cutting off heads and cutting off hands and doing this and so on? We don't. And this is wonderful teaching. And that is the sad thing. That is the sad thing.
Yes.
Anyway,
I couldn't agree more with you, Imam Sab. I mean, the message of Islam in the Quran is immaculate. It's the best message of any
Yep.
author that I've ever read in my life. It's so abounding with wisdom and beauty.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And it's true.
Yep. Yep. So, okay. Next week we'll carry on with the verses of the Holy Quran. Ahad, have you fallen asleep? You
No, no,
haven't
sir.
said anything.
No. I just wanted to say a small message to Brother Gavin here. So first of all,
Mhm.
I would really like, it's a pleasure knowing him, and like I just came to know about his all the struggles which we have been facing. So I just wanted to say that, like, indeed the path which he has chosen, it's not easy, but the trials, whatever he has been facing, I just wanted to say that please remember, brother, that this hardship you endure, it's a reflection of your deep faith and commitment to truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Yeah.
tests only whom he loves. As Quran tells us that, it's a verse in the Holy Quran that, do people think that they will be left alone because they say we believe and will not be tested?
Yes.
You will not be tried.
These tests are not meant to break you, but they happen to build you, bring closer to you to Allah. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself
That's
knew,
right.
he endured immense struggles, yet he remained patient and steadfast, knowing that Allah's reward for perseverance are beyond measure. So at the end, I would just like to say that your strength, your patience, and your faith inspire everyone amongst us. And please, you're never alone. Allah is always with you, and so are us, your brothers in faith. May we all pray that may Allah ease your difficulties, grant you peace, and
Ameen.
reward you in the best in life
Ameen.
and the hereafter. Keep going, my brother.
Ameen.
Ameen.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Inshallah, brothers, next Sunday, 5 p.m.
5 p.m.
we'll
UK
meet.
time. Yep.
5 p.m. UK time. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. 5 p.m. UK time. We'll meet again and we'll carry on.
Okay.
Assalamu
Okay then. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Walaikum
assalam wa
salam.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.